The message came through on a frequency that hadn't been used in centuries. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the ESS Endeavour, watching as her communications officer struggled to clean up the degraded signal. The massive view screen before them showed only static, but the desperation in the alien voice cut through the interference like a knife. "This is Archon Vila of the Lumini. Our binary star system is collapsing. We have weeks before total system failure. Our people." The transmission crackled, dropping words before continuing. "No deep space capability. The Galactic Council has abandoned us. Please, if anyone can hear this, help us." Sarah's first officer, Commander David Okonjo, leaned forward in his chair. "The Lumini. I've heard of them. Supposedly one of the oldest species in the galaxy, but they never developed beyond their home system. Some kind of religious belief about staying close to their sacred stars. And now those stars are killing them." Sarah said quietly, her dark eyes fixed on the coordinates scrolling across her command console. The Lumini system was on the far edge of explored space, well beyond the normal range of Earth's most advanced ships. Dr. Maya Patel, the ship's chief scientist, pulled up a holographic display of the binary system. "The stars are entering a catastrophic decay cycle. When they go, they'll take everything in the system with them. We're looking at complete extinction of their species." Sarah's fingers drummed against the arm of her chair. Humanity was still considered a young race by galactic standards. Their ships were slower, their technology less advanced than many of the Council species, but they had something the Council seemed to lack: a stubborn refusal to accept impossible situations. "How many Lumini are we talking about?" she asked. "Population estimates suggest around 4 billion, Maya replied. "They're concentrated on their homeworld and 3 terraformed moons." 4 billion. The number hung in the air like a physical weight, and the Council just left them to die. According to the emergency broadcast records, the Council deemed a rescue operation logistically unfeasible given the time constraints and the Lumini's lack of spacefaring experience. David reported, his voice tight with barely contained anger. Sarah stood, pacing the length of the bridge. The Endeavour was Earth's newest deep space vessel, equipped with experimental quantum drive technology. But even with their most advanced ship, evacuating 4 billion people seemed impossible. The Council wasn't wrong about the logistics, but they were wrong about everything else. "Open a channel to Earth Command," she ordered, "and get me everything we have on Lumini biology and culture. If we're going to save them, we need to understand them." "Captain," David began carefully, "you're not seriously considering." "I am." Sarah turned to face her crew. "I know it seems impossible, but humanity didn't get where we are by backing down from impossible situations. We got here by finding ways to make the impossible possible." The next 48 hours were a blur of activity. While Earth Command debated the wisdom of intervening in what many considered a Council matter, Sarah and her crew worked tirelessly to develop a rescue plan. The Endeavour's engineering team, led by Chief Engineer Raj Kumar, began modifying the ship's cargo holds to accommodate Lumini life support requirements. "Their biology is fascinating," Maya explained during an emergency briefing. "The Lumini are crystalline beings. They absorb and process stellar radiation as their primary energy source. The dying stars aren't just destroying their homes, they're literally starving them." "Which makes the transport problem even more complicated," Raj added, his holographic models showing the modified cargo bay designs. "We'll need to create artificial solar radiation chambers just to keep them alive during transit." Sarah listened as her team outlined challenge after challenge. The Lumini couldn't survive in normal Earth vessels. Their crystalline bodies were incredibly fragile. The logistics of moving billions of them safely seemed more impossible with each new detail. But she also saw something else: her crew's determination. Every problem they identified was immediately followed by potential solutions. They weren't asking if they could save the Lumini. They were figuring out how. The call from Earth Command came just as they were finalizing their initial plans. Admiral Helena Santos' hologram appeared in the bridge's command center, her expression grave. Captain Chen, the Council has formally protested any Earth intervention in the Lumini situation. They're claiming we lack the authority and capability to attempt a rescue of this scale. Sarah felt her jaw tighten. And Earth's response. A slight smile crossed the Admiral's face. We reminded them that Earth is not bound by Council decisions, and that the Lumini's distress call was an open broadcast. We're dispatching every available deep space vessel to your location. The Endeavor will take point on the rescue operation. The Council won't like that, David observed. The Council abandoned 4 billion sentient beings to die. Sarah replied. I don't much care what they like. She turned back to the Admiral's hologram. We'll need every transport ship we can get, and we'll need them modified for Lumini life support. Time is critical. You'll have them. The first wave of ships will reach your position in 72 hours. Captain, the Admiral paused. What you're attempting, it's never been done before. Sarah looked around at her crew. Humans who had chosen to venture into the depths of space, not for power or profit, but to explore, to learn, and when necessary, to help. That's what humanity does best, Admiral. We do what's never been done before. As the hologram faded, Sarah turned to her crew. We have 72 hours to figure out how to save a species. Let's get to work. The next 3 days aboard the ESS Endeavor were a testament to human innovation under pressure. The ship's cargo bays had been transformed into intricate networks of crystalline chambers, each designed to simulate the specific radiation frequencies the Lumini needed to survive. Chief Engineer Raj Kumar hadn't slept in 48 hours, but his eyes were bright with determination as he made final adjustments to the experimental life support systems. The quantum resonance chambers should maintain stable energy levels, he explained to Captain Chen, gesturing to the shimmering fields of light that filled each chamber. We've essentially created artificial stars in miniature. Sarah watched the play of light across the chamber walls. And you're sure they'll hold? As sure as I can be without actually testing them on Lumini physiology. Raj ran a hand through his disheveled hair. The real challenge will be scaling this up for the evacuation fleet. The first wave of Earth ships had begun arriving, each vessel immediately swarming with engineering teams working to implement the Endeavor's modifications. It was a logistics nightmare, but one that brought out the best in human creativity and cooperation. Dr. Maya Patel had established direct communication with the Lumini leadership, working around the clock to coordinate the evacuation plans. The alien species' crystalline nature made them natural communicators. Their bodies literally resonated with transmitted frequencies, but their complete lack of space travel experience posed unique challenges. They're terrified, Maya reported during the morning briefing. Not just of their dying stars, but of leaving them. The stars aren't just their source of life. They're the center of their culture, their religion, their entire understanding of existence. Commander David Okonjo leaned forward. How do we convince an entire species to abandon everything they've ever known? We show them they're not losing their stars, Sarah said quietly. They're gaining new ones. The plan took shape over the next 24 hours. While the engineering teams continued their modifications, Maya worked with the Lumini to reframe their understanding of their situation. She showed them how the artificial chambers preserved the exact frequency signatures of their binary stars, explaining how they could carry their sacred light with them to a new home. But not everyone supported the rescue mission. The Galactic Council had moved from protests to threats, claiming Earth's interference would destabilize the delicate political balance of the sector. Several Council species had positioned their own ships at the edge of the system, ostensibly to observe the situation. They're hoping we'll fail, David observed, watching the Council vessels on the long-range sensors. It would prove them right about humanity being too young, too reckless to handle matters of this scale. Then we'll just have to prove them wrong, Sarah replied, her voice steel. Status of the evacuation fleet. 37 ships have completed modifications, with another 20 due to arrive within the next 12 hours. The Lumini have begun gathering at the designated evacuation points on their homeworld. Sarah studied the tactical display, her mind racing through calculations. Even with the expanded fleet, they would need to operate with perfect efficiency to evacuate enough Lumini before the stars reached critical instability. And that assumed everything went according to plan, something that rarely happened in space operations of this magnitude. The first test of their modifications came when a small group of Lumini volunteers agreed to transfer to the Endeavor's chambers. Sarah stood in the observation room with Maya and Raj, watching as the crystalline beings were carefully transported into the artificial star chamber. The Lumini were beautiful, their bodies like living prisms, refracting light in complex patterns that seemed to speak of ancient wisdom. As they entered the chamber, there was a moment of terrible silence. Then, slowly, their bodies began to resonate with the artificial stellar energy, their crystalline forms glowing with renewed strength. "It works," Raj breathed, checking the readings on his tablet. "The chambers are maintaining perfect stability." One of the Lumini, their cultural attaché, Xenar, approached the observation window. Their crystalline form pulsed with patterns that the translation matrix interpreted as speech. "You have done what our oldest legends said was impossible. You have captured the essence of stars themselves." "Not captured," Sarah corrected gently. "Preserved, so your people can carry their light to a new home." The success with the test group sparked a wave of hope through the Lumini population. The evacuation plans shifted from theoretical to actual as the first large-scale transfers began. But even as Earth ships began their careful loading operations, the binary stars showed increasing signs of instability. "The stellar decay is accelerating," Maya reported, her voice tense. "We've lost at least 48 hours from our original timeline." Sarah looked at the massive view screen, where the binary stars burned with increasing fury. They were running out of time, and they all knew it. But as she watched her crew work, humans pushing themselves to their limits and beyond to save a species that until a week ago they had never met, she felt a fierce pride. The Council might see humanity as young and reckless, but they were about to learn what humanity's recklessness could accomplish when combined with determination, innovation, and most importantly, compassion. "Prepare for full-scale evacuation operations," she ordered. "All ships, all available chambers. We move as many as we can, as fast as we can, for as long as we can." The rescue of the Lumini had begun in earnest, and humanity was about to show the galaxy exactly what impossible meant. The evacuation's first hours showed promise, but that hope was quickly tested by reality. The Endeavor shuddered as another solar flare struck its shields, the burning plasma casting eerie shadows through the bridge windows. Captain Sarah Chen gripped her command chair, watching as data streamed across her tactical display. "Status report," she called out, her voice steady despite the ship's violent motion. "Shields holding at 60%, Commander David Okonjo reported. But these flares are getting worse. The binary system's degradation is accelerating faster than our models predicted." On the main view screen, Sarah could see other Earth ships navigating through the stellar storm, each vessel carefully maneuvering to protect its precious cargo of Lumini refugees. They had managed to evacuate nearly 500,000 in the first wave, but that was a fraction of the billions still waiting on the surface. "Captain," Maya's voice came through the comm, tense with concern. "We have a problem in Chamber 3. The quantum resonance field is fluctuating." Sarah was moving before Maya finished speaking. She sprinted through the corridors to the cargo bay, where she found Maya and Raj hunched over a control panel. Through the observation window, she could see hundreds of Lumini, their crystalline forms dulled and trembling as the artificial star field flickered around them. "What happened?" she demanded. "The solar flares," Raj explained, his fingers flying over the controls. "They're interfering with our power distribution. The chambers weren't designed to handle this level of external energy bombardment." "Can you stabilize it?" "Yes, but..." Raj hesitated. "We'll need to divert power from other systems, including shields. Sarah felt the weight of command settle heavily on her shoulders. Lowering the shields in these conditions was incredibly risky, but without stable power to the chambers, hundreds of Lumini would die. "Do it," she ordered. "But first, evacuate all non-essential personnel from the outer sections. We'll run with a skeleton crew until we clear the solar storm." The next hours were a desperate balance between survival and duty. The Endeavor's shields flickered dangerously as power was diverted to maintain the life support chambers, while the crew worked double shifts to compensate for their reduced numbers. Throughout the fleet, other ships reported similar problems. The modified systems were being pushed far beyond their intended specifications, and the stress was showing. Two smaller vessels had already been forced to retreat, their chambers failing under the strain. "Captain," David's voice came through her comm. "The Council ships are moving. They're taking up positions around the evacuation corridor." Sarah felt a flare of anger. "Are they actually going to try to stop us?" "No. David sounded surprised. "They're extending their shields, creating a buffer zone between us and the worst of the solar storms." On her display, Sarah watched as the Council vessels, the same ones that had come to witness their expected failure, moved to protect the Earth fleet. It seemed humanity's determination had impressed at least some of their galactic neighbors. But even with this unexpected help, they were fighting a losing battle against time. The binary stars were dying faster than anyone had predicted, and their death throes were becoming increasingly violent. "All ships, this is Captain Chen," Sarah broadcast across the fleet. "We're going to have to accelerate our timeline. Push the chambers to maximum capacity. I know it's risky, but we're out of options." The response was immediate. Earth ships began picking up more Lumini, their modified chambers packed to their safety limits and beyond. The evacuation numbers climbed, but so did the strain on ships and crew alike. The first major loss came 18 hours into the operation. The ES Horizon, one of the smaller transport vessels, reported critical failure in their chamber control systems. Sarah watched in horror as the ship's captain made an impossible choice, evacuating his human crew to a nearby vessel while he remained behind, manually maintaining power to the chambers that kept 5,000 Lumini alive. "Captain Chen." His final transmission came through clearly despite the interference. "Tell Earth. Tell them we did what had to be done." The Horizon disappeared in a flash of light as its containment fields finally failed, taking its captain and its precious cargo into oblivion. The loss hit the fleet hard, but instead of deterring them, it seemed to strengthen their resolve. Humanity had always defined itself not by its victories, but by its response to loss and adversity. The fleet doubled its efforts, crews pushing themselves and their ships to the absolute limit. The Lumini, witnessing this dedication, began assisting despite their own fears, helping to coordinate the surface evacuations with increasing efficiency. "They're learning," Maya observed, watching as the crystalline beings worked alongside human crews. "Adapting. They'd spent millennia in isolation, but now they're remembering that change doesn't always mean loss." Sarah finished. She turned to Raj, who was monitoring the chamber readouts. "How are we holding up?" "The chambers are stable, but we're seeing increasing stress fractures in the containment fields. We can keep going, but..." He met her eyes. "We're going to start losing more ships, Captain." Sarah nodded, her expression grim. They had known from the start that this mission would require sacrifices. The question was never if they would lose ships and crew, but how many, and whether those losses would be worth the lives they saved. Looking at the Lumini working alongside her crew, their crystalline forms glowing with renewed purpose, she knew the answer. Humanity had chosen this path, chosen to reach out when others turned away, to help when others claimed it was impossible. That choice had come with a price, but it was one they would pay without hesitation, because that, too, was what made them human. The binary stars had become a writhing mass of plasma, their surfaces rippling with massive ejections that turned space itself into a deadly maze. On the Endeavor's bridge, Captain Sarah Chen watched as the stellar visualization displayed an ever-worsening cascade of numbers. "Final analysis?" she asked, her voice hoarse from hours of issuing orders. Dr. Maya Patel's hologram flickered beside her, the scientist's normally composed features tight with concern. "The stellar cores are entering final collapse. When they go, the shockwave will sterilize everything within half a light year. Time: 3 hours, maybe less." Sarah turned to the tactical display, where hundreds of dots represented the remaining Earth ships and their precious cargo. They had evacuated nearly 2 billion lumini, but that still left billions more on the surface. The math was brutal. Even with every ship running at maximum capacity, they couldn't save everyone in the time they had left. "Captain," Commander David Okonjo called out, "incoming transmission from the Lumini surface. It's Archon Vila." The ancient Lumini leader's crystalline form appeared on the main screen, their light patterns pulsing with what Sarah had learned to recognize as deep emotion. "Captain Chen, we have received your warning about the final collapse. Our people understand that not all can be saved. Archon, we're not giving up. If we push the ships harder—" "No," Vila interrupted, their patterns shifting to convey firm resolve. "You and your people have already sacrificed too much. We have made our peace. Those who remain will do so as guardians of our ancestral home, witnessing its final moments." Sarah felt her chest tighten. "That's billions of your people, Archon, who will die with dignity, knowing that through humanity's courage, our species will survive. That is more than we dared hope for when we sent our desperate call into the void." Before Sarah could respond, alarms blared across the bridge. "Captain," Raj's voice cut through the chaos. "The stellar cores, something's wrong. The collapse is accelerating." On the view screen, the binary stars seemed to pulse, their surfaces bulging grotesquely as the forces within them reached critical levels. They had minutes, not hours. "All ships, emergency departure." Sarah broadcast. "Maximum thrust, get clear of the system." But as the fleet began to move, David called out, "Captain, we have ships refusing to leave. They're still loading Lumini." Sarah zoomed in on the tactical display. 5 Earth vessels, including the heavy transport Ganymede, were holding position near the planet's surface, their chambers accepting a final desperate wave of refugees. "Ganymede, this is Captain Chen. You need to break off now." "Negative, Endeavor," came the reply. Captain Maria Santos' voice was calm despite the situation. "We can save another 1,000, maybe more. We're staying." Sarah wanted to order them to leave, to save themselves, but she knew she would have made the same choice. This was humanity at its core, refusing to abandon hope even in the face of certain doom. "Raj," she called out, "what if we tried to buy them time? Could we use the fleet's shields to create a deflection barrier? The combined shield strength might hold back the initial wave," Raj calculated quickly, "but every ship would have to maintain perfect position. One failure and—" "Send the calculations to the fleet. All ships capable of generating shields form up between the stars and those transports. We're not losing anyone else today." The next minutes were a symphony of desperate coordination. Earth ships moved with precision, their shields linking to create a barrier of energy between the dying stars and their companions still loading refugees. The Council vessels, watching this display of human determination, added their own shields to the effort. The binary stars reached their final moment, their cores collapsing in a cataclysmic surge of energy. The combined shield wall lit up like a new sun as it caught the first wave of the blast, the ships behind it straining to maintain position as space itself seemed to burn. "Shield wall holding," David reported, though his console sparked from the energy overload. "But we're losing power fast. The transports are away." Maya called out, "All ships clear of the surface. Break formation." Sarah ordered, "Emergency quantum jumps, now." The fleet scattered as the shield wall finally failed, the full fury of the stellar explosion rushing to fill the void. The Endeavor's quantum drive engaged just as the shockwave reached them, the ship jumping to safety with barely seconds to spare. When they emerged from quantum space, the fleet regrouped to assess the damage. Incredibly, every ship had made it. Though many were badly damaged, their hulls scored by plasma burns, and their systems strained to breaking point. On the main screen, where the Lumini binary system had once burned bright, there was nothing but a rapidly expanding cloud of stellar debris. An entire civilization's home, gone in an instant. But not their civilization itself. Final count? Sarah asked quietly. Just over 3 billion Lumini evacuated, Maya reported, the largest rescue operation in recorded history. Sarah looked around her bridge, at the exhausted but proud faces of her crew. They had done what the Council had deemed impossible. More than that, they had shown the galaxy what humanity truly was, not just a young, reckless species, but one whose determination and compassion could literally move stars. "Send word to Earth," she ordered. "Tell them to prepare for guests. And tell them humanity just got a little bigger." 3 months after the evacuation of the Lumini system, the view from Earth's orbital stations had changed dramatically. Crystalline structures now orbited alongside human installations, their faceted surfaces refracting sunlight in mesmerizing patterns. The Lumini had adapted to their new home with remarkable resilience, their ancient culture finding fresh expression in the light of a new star. Captain Sarah Chen stood in the observation deck of Earth Command Headquarters, watching a group of Lumini engineers working alongside humans to construct additional habitation spheres. Their crystalline forms seemed to sing in Earth's sunlight, their bodies resonating with frequencies that human scientists were only beginning to understand. "Quite a sight, isn't it?" Admiral Helena Santos approached, standing beside Sarah at the window. "The Council representatives are still trying to process how we managed it. Have they stopped calling it reckless intervention yet?" Sarah asked, a slight smile playing at her lips. "They've upgraded it to unprecedented humanitarian achievement, though I suspect that has more to do with the Lumini's contributions than any change of heart about humanity's methods." Indeed, the Lumini had proven to be far more than refugees. Their unique ability to manipulate stellar energy had revolutionary implications for human technology. The artificial star chambers developed for their evacuation had evolved into highly efficient power sources, and Lumini insights into radiation patterns had already improved Earth's shield technology by several generations. The latest survey results just came in. Helena continued, passing Sarah a data tablet. "The terraforming project for the Mars colonies is ahead of schedule, thanks to Lumini assistance. They're calling it the first true human-alien cooperative settlement." Sarah scrolled through the reports, noting the countless projects where Lumini and human expertise had merged to create something entirely new. But it wasn't just technology that had evolved. Culture, art, and philosophy had flourished in the exchange between the two species. Captain Chen, a familiar crystalline form, approached. Sinar, the cultural attaché who had first tested the evacuation chambers. Their light patterns rippled with what Sarah now recognized as joy. "The Council has finally approved our petition." "The settlement rights?" Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer. The news had spread quickly through both communities. "Yes. The Lumini are officially recognized as a sovereign species with full rights to establish permanent colonies in the Sol system." Xenar's patterns shifted to a deeper, more formal configuration. "But more importantly, we have been recognized as allies and partners of humanity. The first such alliance between a Council species and Earth." The implications were significant. The Council had long treated humanity as an upstart race, too young and unpredictable to be trusted with serious galactic matters. The formal alliance with the Lumini changed everything. "There's more," Helena added. The Lumini's petition included a special request. "Show her, Sinar." The crystalline being projected a holographic image, a new ship design, unlike anything Sarah had seen before. It combined the best of human and Lumini technology, with crystalline energy cores powering human quantum drives. The first of a new fleet, Xenar explained. Built by both our peoples, crewed by both our peoples. We call it the Phoenix class, after the human legend of rebirth from ash. Their patterns shifted to what Sarah had learned was their equivalent of a smile. The first ship will need a captain. Sarah felt her throat tighten with emotion. The design was beautiful, a perfect fusion of human innovation and Lumini elegance. But more than that, it represented something profound. Two species coming together not through conquest or competition, but through compassion and cooperation. The Council won't like it, she said, echoing her words from months ago. A joint fleet changes the balance of power. The Council, Helena replied with a satisfied smile, is learning that their old balance of power needed changing. Your rescue mission proved that. Sometimes the most powerful force in the universe isn't technology or political influence. It's the simple choice to help others when no one else will. Sarah turned back to the window, watching as more crystalline structures caught the sunlight. The Lumini had lost their home stars, but they had gained something perhaps more valuable. They had gained hope, purpose, and allies who would stand with them, no matter the odds. And humanity. They had gained something too. They had proven to the galaxy, and to themselves, that their reckless compassion, their naive determination to help others, their refusal to accept impossible odds, were not weaknesses. They were strengths that could literally save civilizations. When do we start? Sarah asked, already knowing she would accept the command. Xenar's patterns brightened. The first Phoenix-class ship begins construction next month. We thought you might want to oversee the process. A new kind of ship for a new kind of future, Helena added. One where humanity's place in the galaxy is defined not by our power or our technology, but by our heart. Sarah watched as another group of Lumini passed by the window, their crystalline forms now as familiar a sight in Earth orbit as human ships. They had risked everything to save a species that the galaxy had abandoned, and in doing so, they had changed not just the Lumini's fate, but their own. The impossible rescue had become something more. It had become a legacy of hope, a testament to what was possible when compassion met courage, when determination faced down impossible odds, when humanity chose to reach out instead of turn away. And that legacy would light the way forward, as bright and enduring as the stars themselves.